I wrote an essay about a law that was made for a detransitioner, called Chloe's Law or something. And I read into this detransitioner's story, and it made me realize, wow, I wonder how many detransitioners are lying about their stories. Because her story went something along the lines of, I transitioned at 12, and then I took puberty blockers the minute I came out. And then I took testosterone at 14. And now she's going on to say really crazy things that, like, gender affirming care for minors is the equivalent of, like, the experiments Nazi soldiers did on, like, Jewish prisoners. I read that story and was genuinely like, this is bullshit. Like, how do transphobes not realize that the amount of detransitioners that are probably speaking to them are grifting? Their stories are probably not real. I do believe that they have detransitioned, but the details of their story and making themselves out to be victims are most likely fabrications. Like, this is ridiculous. Oh my god, I fucking hate detransition.
I'm a detransitioner and I'm frequently called transphobic or
Listen, I am sorry that that is the experience that you had. And I can tell you are passionate about helping youth not be put in the same position that you were put in. However, respectfully, this is projection. However, in the midst of a massive transphobic movement where politicians are literally taking away the rights for people to even access gender affirming care, you are putting yourself in a position where people elevate you and they see that you are speaking from inside the community, and it validates their transphobia. And this is often why you are being called transphobic. From a medical standpoint, we treat lots of varying conditions, and many people are going to have regret about making decisions about their health care. But what is not correct is to use your isolated incident, your very low percentage of regret, and to demonize the entire medical community, to demonize the entire transgender community for wanting to access gender affirming care, which shows vast improvement in most people with their gender dysphoria and very minimal regret. It is very disingenuous and very dangerous to try to gather people to eliminate even having the possibility for people to access transgender healthcare. What would be responsible in your position is to talk about your isolated incident. Speak about the conversations you had leading up to it. Where did you start doubting that this transition was for you or not? What did the healthcare provider say or do that maybe there was a disconnect, and what you should have done differently? Because to completely say that accessing transgender care is now not ethical is incorrect, because the overwhelming data supports that transgender healthcare is good for the population. It is good for mental health. It saves lives. And that, I'm sorry that's not the experience you had, but you have to understand where our frustration is coming from with this platform that you have, is that you are validating people who don't think that anybody should have access to this care, which is going to harm way more people than help.
Woman sues surgeon for allegedly removing her breast and uterus without proper consent. A woman who allegedly self-diagnosed herself as having gender dysphoria as a teenager is suing two Wisconsin surgeons who removed her uterus and breast, saying they did the procedures without her proper consent. Jay Lick and Catherine Gast, as well as the UW Hospital, were named in the suit in the Dane County Circuit Court. Lick reportedly removed the now 23-year-old woman's uterus when she was 19, while Gast performed her double mastectomy when she was 21. Both surgeries were considered gender-affirming procedures according to the suit. Lawsuit argues that the woman self-diagnosed herself as having gender dysphoria in her late teens, but that doctors did not independently diagnose her, according to the Wisconsin State Journal. This suit alleges that doctors carried out malpractice and failed to obtain informed consent, discrimination under the Affordable Care Act, hospital negligence, and the denial of benefits and care that would have been provided to a non-transgender woman. The woman, who now lives in Chicago, she said previously that she identified as a lesbian and then not non-binary to cleanse her severed psychological distress and trauma that she endured as a child. The patient allegedly had a series of traumatizing events within her childhood home, including being sexually abused. She eventually fled the home and was diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. She stopped taking testosterone in the latest year and began the process of detransitioning after determining that her childhood trauma sparked mental distress, not her biological sex, the outlet reported. She is now mourning that she will never be able to naturally conceive a large family as expected in her culture. The UW Health and its providers care deeply for the health and well-being of patients and work hard every day to ensure patients receive the best possible care. The spokesperson did not elaborate on the case or how informed consent is obtained at the hospital. The woman's attorney, Daniel Craig of Eklund and Blando of Minneapolis, said his office is representing the woman to rectify the alleged personal injury, not for PR purposes. We're not doing this as a public relations maneuver like a lot of the detransitioner cases are. This is a straight personal injury medical malpractice case. And you can bore me with a lot of think pieces about how these detransitioners, all they want to do is discredit all the transgender work and all the transgender activities that we work hard to get people to understand and respect. And honestly, you can have that conversation with anyone who's disingenuous enough to have it with you. I'm going to look you dead in the face and say, hey, if you're trans, cool. There's nothing this guy right here, can do a damn thing about. I can't come into the operating room and stop somebody from adding a dick to your body. It's impossible. I'm pretty certain I might go to jail for that. What I can do is look at people who live their life as they choose to live their life, and they decide they are transgender, and they go through the process, whether they do it as a grown adult or they start that process as an 18-year-old, 17-year-old, and they go about it and they live a few years, and then they realize, that's not who I am, or in this case, they're kind of going about it in a way that doesn't really lead to any form of consent in getting the operation fully done with everybody's approval. There are stories like this. Are there a lot? No, but they should be talked about because it's somebody with a story to tell. It may not be the story you want to hear, and you might want to gaslit every detransitioner as somebody who wants to tear down all your hard work. But guess what? Everybody don't care about your work. They care about, spoiler alert, themselves and what they go through, just like how you go through what you go through, and you care about that. They're not interested in trying to tear down a bunch of people. Some are actually out there saying it's a mental illness, you shouldn't do it, you should never do it, it makes no sense to do it. But guess what? Is that gonna stop some people? Yes. Is it gonna stop everybody? No. Not to be that guy, but to actually be that guy. If you're someone who hears someone's story of personal journey and how they had ups and had downs, and you decide to look at their downs and try to demean them for their downs, you're not a hero. You're a trans ally, and that's something no one wants to be. Subscribe to the channel. I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.